What is up, good people? Crypto Prepper here. Today is Thursday, May 21st, 2026. Today, we are looking at a fear and greed index of 41, so up a little bit since yesterday, even though the price of Bitcoin is basically flat at 77K. So, we are going to continue scrolling down here. We got an interesting one today, because yesterday we did Chronos, and maybe that was the day before, I can't remember. Today, I'm going to look at Tether Gold. So this is an interesting one because it's supposed to track the price of gold and it's supposed to hold the gold in this account or whatever. So, we can argue until we're blue in the face about whether or not they have it and all that stuff. But it can give you some exposure to the price of gold without the volatility of crypto. But you can trade it like a crypto because it's tokenized. So it is available on Kraken. And here's our pairing XAUT and USDT. But, I'm making an exception here because it hasn't been around quite, for a year. But this is based on gold. So that gold's been around for thousands of years, obviously. So you can see that my return on this grid bot wasn't that great. But I've been doing the grid bots as a baseline for a while here. So I did the same thing today. Here's the initial investment, 1,000, and I changed the grid levels from 100 to 50. And I think Kraken might only allow 80 levels. So if you're not having luck with your grid bots on Kraken at 100, try 80 or 79. Okay. So we can leave these on trailing up. We definitely want that anyway. Pump protection doesn't really matter on the grid bots. So the other thing that's different from our normal bots is this is only 180 days. So you can see here, I didn't bother taking it all the way back to September 13th because, it was still pretty new at this point. So it's got a little bit of history behind it, starting in November. And that's essentially just 180 days, half a year. So, we saw 2.39% isn't that impressive, but 10.64 actually is. So this is a DCA bot, and we'll go through the settings here shortly. But you can see the activity since November 22nd or 23rd. It's gone up. Let's see here. Well, let's take our price range, and it went up 37%, and then it has since popped down 20%. So typically we're not used to seeing gold be that active. It was an interesting year. So who knows whether this kind of returns will continue, but it's interesting nonetheless. So let's talk about the other thing that I look at is the continuation. So not only has this bot been running for 6 months and it automatically restarts itself when it sells and continues on, we can see here with these limit orders underneath that we are protected down to 4,000 unless it pops down here and then pops back up here. So, or in this range anyway. Okay, so let's look at these settings, and we are pretty similar to the way we set up these DCA bots on the crypto. We start out with $1,000 investment, like anything else. It can be scaled up as much as you want. So, I would definitely not feel bad about putting 10K in this one. It's a little bit more secure than some of the other options. Then our base order amount, 3125, and averaging orders amount, 968.75. So if you do want to scale that up, you're going to want to start out with 1,000, plug in these numbers, and then when you change this to that, it'll automatically update these numbers. So you'll see the amount that you put in won't change the APY at 10.64. So just like all the other coins that we've done, we will have averaging orders quantity being 5 and the averaging step percent being a little tighter here at only 3.5. So, of course, we haven't gone through, a 60% correction like in crypto with gold. So, um, then we will, like always, take our amount multiplier all the way to x2 and our take profit at 5%. And then make sure your risk management pump dump protection is turned off. Okay, like I said before, we can only do a 180-day back test, and you can see even with adding another zero to this bot, excuse me, we are still seeing the same APY. You'll just notice, like when the last time it sold, which was April, it says April 14th, but this is noted on April 15th. April 14th or 15th, you got paid $500 after watching it decline and scoop up the dip, dollar cost average on the way down. So it was basically fully invested. Let's see, because the initial order is 31.25, well, 313 in this case, and then it doubles that investment each time. So down here, it invested $5,000 instead of 500 for $1,000 bot. Okay, so because the initial one and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 averaging orders underneath. So it was fully invested. So then when it popped up 5%, you had to wait about a month, but the gold isn't quite as volatile as crypto. So you can expect to wait a little bit longer, I guess. And well, not in this chart necessarily, but let's see, February 5th to February 20th. Yeah, so the longest time you've had to wait here was the 23rd through the 15th from March to April, so almost a month. But you've got paid, in just that 180 days for having exposure to this gold, tokenized gold. You got paid 10%. So hopefully this was interesting to you. And it's the original prepper investment, right? Gold and silver. But when gold was $1,200, I didn't, it was hard to shell out that uh, for just one little ounce coin. So, and then the farther you get down with gold, as far as like the little smaller increments, the more premium. So the more you're paying per gram or ounce of gold overall. And actually, that was one of the things that really drew me into Bitcoin originally was you can buy a fraction of a Bitcoin and not have to pay that extra premium for the smaller amount. So anyway, if you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give me a thumbs down. If you want to see more of these videos, subscribe to the channel. And if you have a favorite coin, leave it for me in the comments, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.